Hello, everybody. Hubert here, and a really special guest with me today, Spencer from the band Underoath. Hello, Spencer. How are you? All good?
What's up, man? I'm doing great. Thanks.
Great. First question. I was wondering, how do you look at the, I would say, revival maybe of these classic metalcore albums, like they're only chasing safety in your case, or let's cheers to this by sleeping with sirens, for example. Is it only nostalgia right now, or is there something more, something special in this kind of records, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, I think that no matter what the band is that you adore or you grew up with, or there's always that first record that you like fell in love with them on, and I don't think that takes away from the band's evolving and getting better. And, for in our case, a lot of people discovered Underoath either on they're only chasing safety or Define the Great Line. Mm-hmm. And that was like kind of the first generation of people. And then a lot of people discovered the band after we got back together on the Erase Me album cycle, a lot of new fans. So I don't think it really matters where in the discography you fall in love with the band, but I think there's always something there because it brings back memories of like, oh man, when I found that band, like if it's Linkin Park or Metallica or Nirvana, I don't care what the band is, but like there's always going to be something that you connected with when you first latched onto a band because there was a reason for it. You were going through something, you related to something, something important in your life was changing and you needed those songs. I think for us and any band, that the word nostalgic is thrown around a lot right now because of festivals like when we were young and bands doing anniversary tours. But if you think about some of the best bands in the history, of rock music, they're still going today. These guys are in their 60s or 50s. I wouldn't consider it nostalgia. I would just consider it a career. And I think a lot of bands from our genre didn't make it past 10 years, let alone 20 to celebrate something. So am I necessarily looking forward to playing a record that I wrote when I was 18 years old? No, I'm not at all. But I'm excited to go celebrate with people that either A, fell in love with us back then and haven't left our side, or B, never got to see it during that era of time, and to come celebrate a record that was technically our first record. It was definitely half the band's first record. And, Underoath name existed before, but it was like more of a high school project, not really a real band. And so this was like our first real record, and then we toured with, and it changed our lives. So I'm excited to celebrate and, see people around the world and remember that time and kind of cheers to that. But I'm more excited about what comes next for Underoath after this tour.
All right. We'll come back to this later, but I'd like to know, are you a metalcore listener yourself right now?
I listen to everything, to be honest with you. I don't just listen to one genre, though. No.
Yeah, I'm wondering if you're, I don't know, bored or something like that after all these years of being at the stage, or are you still, checking out the new albums of different metalcore bands?
Well, I mean, it's kind of yes and no. I find a lot of heavy music to be boring nowadays. Yes, I think something has been missing. To me, just like in my personal taste, like the way I grew up and how excited heavy music used to make me feel. And I don't know if there's something missing or I've just been around it my whole life. So I typically find myself listening to different genres outside of metalcore. But that being said, it is a huge part of my life, and it is a part of my career. So I definitely check out all the new stuff that comes out still. And I have a lot of friends. If my friends drop new music, I'm going to support them and listen to it and check it out. I don't pretend to be too cool to listen to peers and people that are in our genre. I don't pretend to be too cool to have time to check out what my friends are releasing. I think that's a cop out bullshit, wannabe rock star move. I think it's cool to support your friends and to, and support one another and listen to what everyone's doing. I think, if anything, it inspires you in a way, even if it's like, oh, what a cool song. I would have never written it that way. Or I wouldn't do that for Underoath, but for, I think I see why it's cool or why people like it or why that band did that, or I'm stoked that they're going in that direction. There's many different things you can take from listening to your friends' bands and just bands in the genre in general. Like it's exciting to see, metalcore or whatever you want to call it, hardcore, post-hardcore, whatever you want to call the genre, bands still taking off. Like it's not a old genre. It's not a nostalgia genre. It's definitely thriving. I think that's exciting.
Yeah. So what would you say is the most, exciting band right now for you on the scene?
I don't know. I mean, I just have so many friends. It's hard to say, but I the stuff that I love that all my friends are doing, like I love what Thrice is doing, and bands like that. But I also love what Architect, the first time we went over to the UK, I think first or second time we were to the UK, the Architect was opening up for us and we met them back then. And it's exciting to see how much they've grown, and it's exciting to see how much Bring Me the Horizon has grown. And then there's newer bands like Knocked Loose that are doing something cool right now, and Turnstile. Like there's a lot of cool stuff. I was just at home and had a couple days off, and my buddy was playing a show down the road, who's more like a kind of singer-songwriter type guy. And I realized that Thy Art Is Murder is playing, a block away, and I went and saw them, and their show was unbelievable. Their new singer was incredible. And, there's a lot of exciting, stuff going on in the heavy world, but, yeah.
Sure.
So I find, I try to check out every one of my friends and what they've been putting out. And then I also spend enough time listening to other music that inspires me. And it's weird that stuff that doesn't sound heavy at all can inspire me to make a dark, heavy song. So.
All right. You guys are coming to Poland on June 12th, Warsaw, Klub Proxima. So please tell me, what could your fans expect? Because as far as I know, you're playing, they're only chasing safety in its entirety on this whole tour, right? In Europe, in UK, and in US. And is there something like fan-voted set list? Please tell me more.
The fan-voted set list stuff, it was more for the US tour, because we're not really sure how it works over there. Like in the US, we have a good handle on how our shows work here and how the ticketing works and how we can have certain things. Like we're going to, anyone that bought a ticket in America will end up getting a QR code at the show, or up to a certain point in the day they can vote on even up to show day, I'm pretty sure, but there'll be X amount of choices. You'd be able to vote from anything from our catalog, since they're only chasing safety, and you could vote on whatever song you want. You can only vote on each song once, but you get however many songs. Let's say it's 6 or 7 songs. You get to pick 6 or 7 of whatever you want to hear. And the ones that get the most votes are the ones that we're going to play. But in the UK and Europe, we might have to do it a little bit differently, because we just don't know. We don't have as much communication with the venues and the promoters and the ticketing companies like we do in America, because we tour America more, So I think we're gonna plan on playing the Only Chasing Safety in its entirety, and then a handful, a good handful of other songs throughout our catalog. And maybe if people want to hear a certain song in a certain city, we we'll try to throw it in there. We'll see how it goes. I think we're going to kind of play that by ear. But in America, it'll be very organized and stuff. But in the UK and Europe, we might just kind of have to wing it a little bit. So we'll see. Okay,
sure. Have you guys ever played in Poland before?
That's a good question. I have no idea. I really don't know. We could Google it, though.
I tried to, but there's not so much information, so I'm asking you.
I don't remember. I really don't remember, but I could possibly look it up. I have no idea.
So it might be your first one.
It might be. This might be our first one.
Okay, that's cool. Do you like the idea of playing the album in its entirety? Do you like the idea, or I don't know, because it became more and more popular and many bands are doing that. I don't know if you guys have been doing that before.
I'm indifferent on it. I think it's cool that people would want to hear an album from front to back. You know, that's how albums were made for a reason. You know, you put it in a specific order that's what the listener is supposed to listen to. I don't necessarily love, like I said earlier, like playing an album that I wrote when I was a teenager, because there's just not a lot to relate to for me anymore, just personally, on that album in particular. But I do enjoy the celebratory side with the fans that, you know, we still play a lot of those songs live, obviously. Like, we never stopped playing songs off of any record, really. It's fun. Like, those songs for me in the set list are fun because I see how people, you know, react to them, and, you know, they have fun during those songs, and I can kind of let go of what I'm doing and focus more on the fans. But a full set list of that, it could be a little bit difficult to wrap my brain around, but I'm sure I'll find a way to have a blast doing it. And then we get to play a bunch of songs, whatever we decide after that, which will be fun as well.
All right, sure. You said before something about the Erase Me album. I really love this one, especially the song I Hate It. How do you remember your, I would say, maybe comeback on the stage back then? Was it hard for you?
No, you know, I never stopped touring to begin with. So like when Underoath broke up, I was already writing a record and had tours set up, and, you know, I didn't want to stop, so I didn't stop. And so getting back on stage wasn't hard. You know, it was just getting the friendships back to where we were able to forgive and forget, you know, and patch things up. And then once that, you know, that took 3 or 4 years. And once we got through all that, and getting back on stage was very fun. And we did that Rebirth tour. But even at that tour, the band didn't know if they wanted to stay a band or it was just a reunion tour or whatever. So me and Aaron, our drummer, immediately were like, we have to do this. Like, we're stupid not to. So we started writing, which a lot of those songs became Erase Me songs. But we were just writing a record, not knowing if the band guys were going to want to join, you know, do Underoath again. And after we had worked for a couple months, the band decided, like, yeah, let's do this. And then we started writing together after that. That's why some songs, like I Hate It, for example, was a song that me and Aaron wrote that wasn't necessarily intended for Underoath. It was, hey, if Underoath doesn't become a band again, we should still do it with me and you and whoever else, but this would be one of those songs. And then we ended up using some of that stuff because the band liked it, and then we kind of like Underoathed it a little bit, you know, like got the guys on it and changed it up some. So,
all right. Why do you think people fell in love, I would say, with the metalcore, post-hardcore, or whatever music at the beginning of this century? What was the reason? What was, you know, special about this kind of music?
Well, I think originally, like, I mean, I'm just thinking about myself, is there was an underground movement, you know, like there was the mainstream and there's stuff that you were seeing, you know, you got to think this is really before smartphones and before Instagram, before Facebook, before, you know, Spotify and all that. So I think there was some sort of community is what was exciting about this. I mean, they called it the scene, you know, you were a scene band. And the reason why that, in my opinion, was because it was so community based, like there was a band or a local venue or promoter guy that like connected with other bands and threw on shows with bands that weren't necessarily mainstream success, and there was kind of like an anti-mainstream movement. And it felt like a place that for people that didn't belong other places, I think that was what was so important about the scene to begin with is you might be an oddball at your high school, but then when you went to that show on the weekend, there was a bunch of other people like you in that room, like dressed in black and tight pants and the hair, like it was a thing. And we joke about it now. And there's a lot of the funny emo stuff, but back in the day, like, when you were, you go to school with a bunch of jocks and, cheerleaders and football players. And then you're a skateboarder, a kid that listens to metal and punk rock. And then on the weekend, you're surrounded by your friends and, you're in a room where some band is playing that none of those people know about, that was an exciting feeling. Like it felt like more family based. And I think that's where the scene really exploded. And then that obviously bled into Warped Tour and things like then Ozfest and Mayhem and all these things that became a part of it became more mainstream. And then music's hitting MTV2 and then Fuse. And then there's a huge explosion of it. But I think at the beginning of it, from what I remember going to like DIY venues with very underground bands and finding out some of the coolest music that I didn't know existed, just by going to these shows. Like you maybe had heard of one of the bands on the flyer and then you go for the whole show and find your favorite band, might be opening. Like I remember going to see, Dillinger Escape Plan when they were touring, Under the Running Board or Calculating Infinity. I can't remember, but it was with the original singer. And there was a local kind of metalcore band in my city called Code 7 that really opened a lot of doors for me to see, I was into stuff like Nirvana and Alice in Chains and then the Deftones and Linkin Park, but going to an underground show and then seeing like really aggressive music with people screaming the whole, it really changed my whole perspective. Like I was already a musician and already writing music, but when I saw that, I was like, oh shit, I want to do that. What is that? And there was another band from my area called Bludgeon, and they owned a record label. The Code 7 guys had venues and Bludgeon had a record label. So there was a lot of bands touring through my area. And I found out about Poison the Well through them. And then when I went and saw Poison the Well a few times, one of the times I saw them, it was actually Every Time I Die was opening. And that's how I found Every Time I Die before I was even in Underoath. So this was 2003, probably 2000. No, maybe 2002 or 2001. But there was bands I was getting into and discovering, and it was an exciting time. And obviously that blew up and got everywhere, which that's natural for things that word of mouth spread fast back then.
Yeah, sure. I think every subculture starts from that, from the strong underground scene. And then you can say by, you look at the scene, at the strong underground scene, for example, metalcore, and that, I don't know, in 1, 2, 3 years, it will become, mainstream success.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you look at, some of that underground, like emo rap, scream rap kind of stuff that happened after, that started in the same way that our scene did, like very underground and, the local, like the DIY shows and wild people, younger people. And now a couple years later, a handful of years later, 5+ years, whatever, maybe 10, but, you see it now and it's in arenas, It's like, it's crazy. Me and my friend went to see, Ghostman, who's a buddy of ours who was on our last record. And him and Suicide Boys were on, a show, and, Eric Ghostman invited me to come out, and I went out to see him. And I didn't really pay attention to the venue he sent me. I'm just driving, and then we pull up there and we get there and I realize it's the NBA arena where like the professional basketball players play. I'm like, what the hell? We walked inside, it's just sold out and just massive. And I was like, that is just crazy. It was a full on arena, just sold out. So it's exciting to see that kind of stuff and how far it can go.
Yeah, I recently saw Architects and Bring Me the Horizon in big arenas in Poland, and few years ago they were playing small clubs or something like that. So yeah, that's really surprising. I wouldn't say that scene would be so big.
Right. It's cool though. We'll see.
Yeah, that's great. I think for every band. As far as I know, you were one of the producers of Underoath's newest album, Voyeurist. Did that experience change your, I would say, perspective of looking at the music somehow?
Yeah. So when we did that record, we did everything ourselves. We produced it. And I think it was a lot to take on, but I think with that record, it's something we needed to do. We became really proud of it. And, it was a great experience. It was a hard experience. There was it had its battles for sure. And everyone kind of had different moments of frustration and anger and happy and sad. It was a tough record to make. And I think after that record, we just finished making our new record a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. It's actually being mixed right now. I'm more excited about this record than I've been about anything we've ever done. I haven't felt this way since we made Define the Great Line. And not saying that I'm not proud of everything that we've done. And I've said this in an interview before and it's not that it sounds like Define the Great Line. It's just the feeling that I got when we made that, the feeling that our band had when we made that is we knew we had done something important or special, not knowing what the outcome was going to be. And obviously that record blew up and was very successful. And not saying, I don't know what's going to happen with our new record or not, but I'm just happy that the band is happy and that we all created something really special this time. And as soon as we're done with this 20-year celebration, which is something we need to do, we need to go celebrate where this started for everybody. But we're dying to get to the next chapter because what we have in our back pocket with this new record is something really special. I think it's going to, I don't know. I think it's a special album. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, that's great, man. So when could we expect that? I would say this year or maybe the next one more.
I don't know if we'll release a song this year or not. It really depends because of all the 20-year stuff. It's kind of hard to, we're pushing all this chasing safety stuff. I don't know how you kind of like push a forward. So we might have to hold it until 2025. I'm not 100% sure. Like I said, this isn't even an official interview for the new record. And since you're talking about it, I haven't talked about it much and it's not even mixed yet. We're mixing it right now. So we haven't even had those meetings with the record label yet of when is it going to come out? When are we going to put the first song out? I don't know yet, but maybe we'll be having another interview about the new record before you know it.
Yeah.
So that could be nice.
Yeah, but it's in the works. And
it's done. It's just being mixed. So we're done. We wrote it. We've been working on it for the last year. We wrote it out in a cabin in the middle of the woods, and we go for a couple weeks at a time until we finished it. And our friend Danon, he produced it. He's an incredible younger producer, and so we got to take our hands off the production side this time, which is opposite of what we did with Voyeurist when our hands were on everything. I think it did lead to some overthinking and some over analyzing. And this time we just got to be Underoath, the band, and collaborate on the music side and focus on the music side and not worry about the production, which was amazing because I don't think we could have done that without self-producing the last record. And this time we got to be okay, we learned so much from doing Voyeurist. Let's kind of step away from that mindset and let's just focus on the music. So it's my favorite set of Underoath songs we've ever made. So by far, And I know everyone says that when they make their new record, but this, I really, really, really believe it. Really believe it. So
yeah, you really sound like this is something special. So really can't wait for that. One last question: how do you listen to music these days? Is it only streaming, or maybe you have some special rituals like, I don't know, collecting, listening to vinyls, or something like that?
Yeah, I do both. Streaming. I'm an ex-drug addict, so a lot of my life is like I turned a healthy leaf years ago, and I go to the gym a lot. I'm actually in my gym shirt from this morning still. I haven't showered yet. I apologize.
No problem.
So I'm in the gym, when I'm listening to music in the gym, I'm streaming, but then at home at night with my girlfriend and making dinner, like we'll put on vinyl, So I'm a collector of vinyl, but I also stream. And I know that sounds like a cop-out answer, but it's actually the truth. So when I'm out in my car and I'm at the gym, I listen to a lot of music at the gym, obviously. And, it's always, Spotify and Apple Music. I have both. I pay for both just because I just feel like I should, because no one buys music anymore. And then bands that I love from the past and the present, I make sure to buy a vinyl from them and, collect. I got a collection of older stuff and new. So I do like the special edition stuff and the collector's edition stuff. So I try to. I had a very extensive vinyl collection at one point, and then a lot of it got stolen. And then I started to rebuild it. But man, you can be careful. You can spend a lot of money. It's a very expensive habit, but I do have a good collection that I adore. So
all right. So how big is your collection of the vinyls?
I don't know. Not in the thousands, but hundreds.
Great.
I've got some pretty special ones. I've got a first pressing of Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon. And on the inside of it is the original poster.
Oh.
So, and it's, it was folded up in this sheet. So when you take it out, I mean, you're looking at creases from the 60s, and just the smell of it when you open it, it's wild. It's wild. That's probably one of my coolest ones that I have. And I got a lot of the, I was getting every Nine Inch Nails. They were like one of my favorite bands from a kid, and the Deftones, but Nine Inch Nails and Radiohead, which are two of my probably favorite lifetime bands that still make music. And both of those bands would always release these special edition vinyls, and I'd always pre-order it. And I have some of these wild, thick with the extra booklets and extra B-sides and stuff. I've got some pretty cool ones in there.
All right, man. Thank you so much for this amazing conversation, and all the best for you with the tour, with the release of the next album. Thanks so much again.
Yep, we'll see you in Poland, buddy.
Sure. Bye-bye.
See ya. Bye.